Dutch police were dumbfounded by the case. What could cause a 14-year-old boy to travel across the country and stab a 15-year-old to death in her own house? There was no apparently connection between either of them. Then, the case started to unravel as the full story came out. In the quiet city of Arnhem in the east of the Netherlands, Winsie, 15, and Polly, 16, were Dutch teenagers who had been best friends for many years, since they both had Chinese roots. They were both socially integrated, with Windsor playing competitive chess and involved in performing arts. At the end of 2011, a petty argument between friends soon turned deadly. On Facebook, Polly posted a risque picture. Windsor left a comment, "OMG, how shitty can you get? Just teenage trash talk." Polly was furious and asked several mutual friends to send Windsor threatening messages. Everyone thought it was all a big joke, and they would make up in a few days. In December 2011, at a mutual friend's birthday party, Polly was surprised when Windsor showed up uninvited. A confrontation about Windsor's Facebook comment ensued, and Windsor left the party in tears. After the party, Polly became obsessive about sending Windsor threatening messages, sometimes even threatening murder. Windsor began to seriously worry for her safety. Polly had no interest in mending relations. Polly consulted her boyfriend, Wesley, 17. Some sources say Wesley was enamored with Polly and would do anything to gain her approval. Others say Wesley liked to play tough guy and would often brag about his links to Chinese mafia, which others thought was just teenage boasting. Regardless, it is agreed that Polly and Wesley come to the conclusion that Windsor must be murdered. On the evening of December 9, 2011, Wesley contacts an acquaintance who could be interested in the hit job. A 14-year-old Jinhua lived in a suburb of the Dutch city Rotterdam. Some sources spelled Jinhua. An insecure young boy, Jinhua was always eager to please his peers to gain acceptance. Wesley knew Jinhua, as the latter would often tag along with Wesley's group of friends to nightclubs. Jinhua was more of an outsider that the group took pity on, so Wesley convinced Jinhua and that group would accept him if he carried out the murder. The negotiations for the hit job began at around €1,000, but then fell to just €150 with complimentary drinks on a night out. Astonishingly, Jinhua accepted the offer. In the following weeks, Polly would relay details to Jinhua, through Wesley, about Windsor, her house location, her daily patterns, etc. Sometimes, Polly would have cold feet and call off the hit job, only to change her mind later. At least twice, Jinhua traveled across the country to Windsor's neighborhood to scout out the location. On January 12, Jinhua received the final go-ahead from Polly and Wesley. He traveled to her house, but to his horror, she was not at home. He returned home dejected. Wesley was furious and threatened to have Jinhua killed if he didn't succeed the next time. The next day, Jinhua traveled to Venlo in the far south of the country to have a sleepover with a friend. Wesley instructed him to kill Winsie after her piano lessons at 3 p.m. the next day. Dutifully, Jinhua boarded a train the next day from Venlo to Arnhem, and posted an ominous message on Facebook, "Today a girl will die at 3 p.m. He got one response comment, "Oh my god, a girl who thought it was a joke." Jinhua arrived in Arnhem at 2:30 p.m. and caught bus from the train station to Windsor's neighborhood. At 3 p.m. sharp, he arrived at Windsor's doorstep and rang the bell. But in a shock to Jinhua, an older man answered the door. It was Chun Nam, Windsor's father. Jinhua asked to see Winsie, and she came down. By all accounts, Winsie and Jinhua were strangers. At a large gathering of Dutch Chinese youths, someone snapped a picture of the two sitting together, so they could have been aware of each other through mutual friends. Regardless, Chun Nam went back to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Jinhua said, "I'm sorry, I have to do this," and took out a knife to begin stabbing Winsie. Chun Nam immediately rushed to the commotion, only to be attacked by Jinhua too. Windsor's brother Win Kit also came downstairs and immediately phoned the police. Jinhua then ran outside and fled. A next-door neighbor heard some noise and came over to investigate. Chun Nam begged him to save his daughter. Paramedics arrived and Windsor was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. News reporters began descending on the quiet street. 2 hours after the attack, police found Jinhua hiding in some bushes just a few blocks away. They fired a warning shot and coaxed him out at gunpoint. In the hospital, Chun Nam recovered, but unfortunately Windsor died after 5 days of intensive care. She never regained consciousness after the attack. Jinhua tried to dodge blame, but there were too many eyewitnesses who saw him at the scene. After days of interrogation, he revealed that it was all Wesley's fault. At the same day, police arrest Wesley at his home in Rotterdam, but he was adamant that he didn't know Jinhua, and also never mentioned Polly's name to anyone. However, in the following days, the news had sparked anger in Dutch population and Wesley realized the gravity of the situation. He still never mentioned Polly, but police found all the incriminating text messages on his phone between the two. With that, police started to piece together the situation. Few days later, at a memorial for Windsor's life, teens release a traditional Chinese lantern balloon into the sky. In a video recording, Polly's voice can be heard gleefully shouting "Goodbye, Winsie." The next week, police arrest Polly in her home in Arnhem. When Chun Nam, Windsor's dad, heard Polly was arrested, he couldn't believe it. They had been best friends. Chun Nam explained that the two had a minor argument recently, but he thought it's just typical teenage drama. In the police interrogation, everyone gave different statements. Polly said she and Wesley joked about killing Winsie, told Jinhua, but Jinhua actually was serious about it and killed her against Polly and Wesley's wishes. Wesley said he was just the middleman and didn't have any other involvement in the crime. Court cases, they were all tried in the juvenile court. Jinhua was convicted of murder of Winsie and attempted murder of Chun Nam. Polly, whose mother revealed in court that she had known all the threatening messages Polly was sending to Winsie, and Wesley were both found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Jinhua was sentenced to 1 year in juvenile detention, with 3 years of therapy. Polly and Wesley were sentenced to 2 years in juvenile detention. A shock to the nation that the sentences were so light.